Hey everybody, welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across the week about topics you want to hear about. Today I'm joined by the lovely Sahira. Hi Sahira.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to have you on the show. So Sahira Duramshi is founder of a blog for days, which is a really cool wellness platform. She talks about all different kinds of stories. Please, Sahira, tell me your story and why you decided to create this platform.
Absolutely. So it all started a couple of years ago. I never really thought about journalism or writing as a career, as a profession, and I don't know why. I always loved it. Ever since I was young, I loved writing. I just found it such a good outlet. And post-university, I did my degree in sociology, so totally different to kind of journalism. There was an opportunity to come up to write for a fashion magazine, and a part of me was like, I really want to try this out. So I applied, and that kind of is what kickstarted my journalism career. But there was something I always felt was missing. I've always been really passionate about wellness and mental health. I think even though we've made good progress as a society in speaking more about it, there's still so much more that can be done. And that's something that I've always been so passionate about and wanting to raise awareness and kind of let people know that they're not alone in their struggles because it can feel so isolating. But the reality is, we're all facing something, we're all dealing with something. So I decided that I wanted to create a space on the internet that was dedicated to this, a space that was dedicated to fostering a sense of community and for people to feel heard and to feel understood and to realize that they're not alone. They're not alone in anything, but there's ways to take care of yourself. There's ways to take care of your well-being, and it can be really simple. It's not all of these complex methods. It can just be simple lifestyle adjustments, but they can really put you in a better position for coping with whenever difficulties come your way. So that's kind of how Blog for Days was created. And we talk about a variety of topics. It goes from fashion to mental health to nutrition to health advice. And we also always have experts, so wellness experts related to a theme who come in and kind of provide their story. And from the people they're working with, what are the common issues they see? What's the advice that they would provide? And that's kind of how it came to be.
That is so cool. I love the fact that you're doing something that is good for people. They can learn from it, they can relate to it, and it's so human centric, obviously, right? So you're doing something that people can read and relate to and say, yeah, I've had a bad day. My boss was mean to me, for example, and they can, read one of your blogs and be like, okay, how do I deal and, unpack my boss being mean to me, for example. And the fact that you get to work with experts is so cool. But obviously, what you're doing, you're breaking into a market that is essentially, I mean, the internet is flooded with content. So what would you say has kind of been your biggest challenge in this experience, and how are you overcoming it?
It's definitely been lots of challenges when it comes to being a business owner. I think one particularly is that I'm really doing this by myself. So I have people who write and friends who are also really passionate about certain topics that want to provide their insight into topics. But in terms of the creation and the marketing and everything, that's all on me. And that can get very tiring, but also very difficult to keep yourself motivated. And like you said, there's so much content out there. So also kind of trying to understand how to position yourself to stand out, that's also something that is such a struggle. And I'm naturally quite quiet. I'm not somebody who's like out there loud, always shouting about what they're doing. It's just never been me. But when it comes to these sorts of things, you have to do that. You have to put yourself out there a little bit more than usual. So people know that what is there for them. And people can see, okay, what is this going to offer me? What can I take away? So that's definitely been a struggle that I'm constantly learning to overcome. But something that's been really helpful is I work with a business and mindset coach. And that's really helped kind of center me. Every month we have a check-in and we kind of go through strategy, what's working, what isn't working. But it also forces me to always zoom out and look at things very analytically and then decide, okay, what are the effective next steps to take? But then when it comes to attitudes as well, like I said, it can be really demotivating. And I think we're always our biggest critics. So if something isn't going my way, or I'm just not happy with what things like performance or whatever, I can kind of start to think, oh my gosh, do I continue? Like, what if this isn't going to work out and I go into this negative spiral? But having a business and mindset coach is really good at being able to catch that and kind of realize ups and downs are part of it. They're part of business, they're part of work, they're part of life. So don't let it throw you. Just take it on the chin and learn how to improve and how you're going to do better. So I think that's what's been helpful.
I really appreciate how open you are to changing. I feel like obviously as a one woman show and I have a little bit of experience in that too. I feel like it's so important to not be stuck in your own ways and just think about your own kind of thoughts and how what you want, but like what is good for the business, what is good for the platform. So I think it's really smart of you to that you've invested in a business mindset coach or a business kind of mentor as well to help you with this. And of course, knowing that you are constantly evolving, constantly changing, that means that your business is changing with you as well. And it also obviously impacts your personal journey as Sahira, which is beautiful. And obviously having gone through so many different I suppose experiences in just creating this platform, so many different stories, is there any moment in this journey that has made a particular impact on you?
There's been a few. I would say the creation process was kind of one of the most impactful things for me. When I created the platform, I was so uncertain as to what I was doing with my life. So as I mentioned, I'd started off in fashion journalism, and that was never expected. But that experience itself was quite a negative experience in the sense the work environment was a little bit toxic. And I started to wonder, what on earth am I going to do? Have I picked the wrong career field? And I remember one day my boss kind of called me up to her desk. It was an open plan office. So everybody can always hear any criticism, anything that's gone wrong, everybody hears it. And I remember her calling me up to her desk, and she says she's talking to me about a piece I'd done. And she says to me, this is honestly, it was kind of written like a blog style. And I didn't take anything by it. I was like, okay, fair enough. That's the tone. I need to make it more formal. But then she goes, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just stating as it is. It's not like elevated enough. And as soon as she said, I'm not trying to offend you, I was like, well, okay, you're just trying to mask quite a harsh criticism by saying it. And I remember feeling so small in that moment because everybody then is like watching as you walk back to your desk. It's not a huge office. And I just was sat there thinking, oh, I think I've made the wrong choice. But then fast forward a month down the line, and I was feeling like every time I wanted to speak about wellness and mental health, that wasn't allowed because it didn't match the themes of the platform. And so I kind of took a step back and I was like, why am I trying to force this into somewhere it doesn't belong? Why don't I create that platform myself? And then I had her voice coming into my head going, oh, but you always sound like a blog. And I was like, but that would be perfect because this sort of a topic should be casual, it should be conversational, and it should be close to people's realities. So when they're reading it, they see a part of themselves in these articles. So that's kind of how the whole thing came to be and how the blog came to be known as a blog for days was me kind of taking this moment that wasn't a great moment, but turning it into something to somehow make it my own again and take back my own self-confidence and know that I'm not going to let what other people say kind of dictate what I do and how I feel because nobody should have that power. So I think I've always held on to that moment because it's like you're going to come across criticisms, but you can control how you take it. So try and find the humor, the beauty, just take the power back and try and spin it as positively as you can.
I am speechless. That was such a beautiful series of amazing messages that you shared all in one little bundle. I loved it. And honestly, you should consider starting your own podcast too. I think you'd actually enjoy it. But I really appreciate the fact that you took something so difficult in that moment and created something so beautiful out of it, looking for the opportunities and looking for something that would remind you that no one can tell you who you are. No one can tell you how to be. Only you can decide what makes you happiest. And I love the fact that you took something, you took the essential, like you essentially transferred your skills from being obviously like a fashion journalist into creating this whole platform. And I'm sure you're impacting many more lives through this blog as well. So wow, like damn, I mean, you should be very, very proud of what you've done. And this brings me on to my final question for you, Teddy. You've already touched on little bits of word of advice here and there, but is there one final message you want to leave with the listeners today?
I would say always work on building your own self-confidence. Whatever you go through in life, you're always going to have yourself to count on. So I think as soon as you learn to be able to rely on yourself and know that whatever you put your mind through, even if difficulties come, you will be able to get through it. Just trust in yourself and trust in your ability to overcome these challenges. And like I said, don't let anybody dictate what you do and what you don't do. Sometimes people have words of advice, fine, take it, listen, take it on board. But whenever somebody has criticisms, don't let that deter you because you can never control what somebody else is going to say and how other people are going to react. There's always going to be something, but what you can control is you and how you react and not letting it impact you. So I think one of the biggest things is to really invest in yourself and building up your self-confidence because everybody always deserves to be their first priority and everybody deserves to have the most faith in themselves as possible because I think when you do you can accomplish anything.
Snaps for that. Snaps for Sahira. We love it. We love the female empowerment. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your story today. I am so mind blown by you, and I'm mind blown by how positive you are through all this, through this entire experience. And well done for creating something so important all on your own. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on and letting me share my story.
It's been a pleasure. Have a great day, Sahira. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye.